everybody. Carroll Patrizi here. I'm so happy to be here with y'all today. And I'm really excited because you're in for a treat. Rachel Freiman, and it's spelled like Freeman, just so everybody knows, but it's Rachel Freiman is here with us. She is health and fitness, neuroscience. She's a musician. She's an amazing human being, and she's here to share with us today. Hopefully, she'll talk about I think it's becoming MindStrong, if I'm saying that correctly. And she's going to give us tips on why in the world we should be accountable for all the things in our lives and how that will enhance our lives. So please, please, I know I would not ever do it justice. Rachel, please introduce yourself. And I'm so excited to see you.
Oh, thank you so much. That was such a fun intro. I love your energy. We said that from the first moment we spoke that you and I are a hands flailing, we're hands flailing type of people. I love it. My background is very unusual. As you mentioned, I was a musician my whole life. I was a freelance jazz musician in New York for over a decade and eventually just kind of got burned out from hustling so much and moved to South Florida, and I became a middle school music teacher. And I absolutely love teaching. I thought I was going to teach forever. Like middle school is just such an awkward age, and you get to really just help mold these kids, hopefully, into really good, empowered human beings.
Hmm.
But anyone who's ever taught or has children or has been around children know that it is a very giving job, right? It's a lot of deep breaths. It's a lot of trying to stay in your center when there's chaos going on. So I got into health and fitness just on my own. I knew nothing about it. I just needed a release at the end of the day. So I started going to the gym. And the more I learned about this industry, the word I always use is flabbergasted because I don't know a better one for it. I was absolutely
It's a great word,
flabbergasted. It's a
flabbergasted.
great word. And you could just feel the energy behind it. Like just this jaw on the floor, flabbergasted at how much BS is in this industry. Like at my core, I will always be a teacher. Those fun
Yes,
balloons going off.
who knows?
Good old
God.
Zoom. At my core, I'll always be a teacher. So as I started studying, especially the nutrition part of this, there was this feeling of, oh my gosh, like every point system, shake system, frozen meal system out there, they are doing the exact same thing because there's only one way for the human body to lose weight. But they're doing it in a genius marketing way, but not such a great moral human way where there's this veil over it. So we don't understand it. And the teacher and me just wanted to shout from the rooftops, like, this is a skill. Someone could teach you this once and you could be in complete control and never diet again. So it just kind of snowballed. I hit this fork in the road of loving teaching, never wanting to leave, and just feeling like, the world does not need another personal trainer, but it absolutely needs an educator in this space. So literally yesterday was our 6-year anniversary. I started the company. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I love the timing of this. So I started this little side gig called MindStrong Fitness. And because what we do is so wildly different than all the BS in this industry, to put it bluntly, we exploded. And now 6 years later, we've helped over 2,500 women learn nutrition as a skill and literally never go on a diet again in their entire lives.
That, I mean, first of all, I'm covered in chills
Mm,
because I love an educator. I love teachers.
yeah.
Vocation, like you said, it's give and give and give. And I hope with all my heart, and I know at least 80% of all teachers, they want to do, like you said, mold and empower.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And you continued with that
Mm.
into this space. Now, and you mentioned something here, so many things. I'm kind of mind
A
blown.
mile a minute. Yeah.
I mean, oh my goodness, but 2,500 women in 6 years, a lot. First
Yeah.
of all, that's a lot. Do you work with men as well? I just want to make sure because we do have men in our
Mm.
audience. And
Yeah.
so, do you work with men as well?
Yeah, it's so funny. I get called out on this all the time. Our primary focus is working with women, and
Uh-huh.
everything we teach and everything we do, we work with men. And a lot of times when I speak, I naturally speak about women, and the rules of human biology apply to men or women. The only difference is men lose weight frustratingly faster than women.
Ah, ah,
But
ah.
everything we teach about biology, about weight loss, about psychology, neuroscience, it applies to all genders.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. So, here's the thing, you have this program, and the other, what I find very unique, and we talked about this a little bit before, you are literally trying to empower people. So you give them the information
Yeah.
and then they can move on. It's not like you're saying you got to stay here forever. This is to help you move on
Yeah.
and to take this nutrition and, this education, apply it and continue. And this is for women and men of
Amen.
all ages, correct?
100%. My running joke is I have the worst sales pitch in the world because you literally only need me once. On the other side of this, it's if this were 12 weeks in how to ride a bike and how to surf and how to knit, why would you keep paying for bike riding lessons, right? You know the skill, you've learned the skill. And I find in any area of life, the thing that scares us, the things that make us feel overwhelmed are the things we don't understand. And for
Mhm.
most of us, nutrition has been sold to us as this big, overwhelming, scary, cross your fingers, wish and hope and pray that this diet actually works. And in reality, it's a skill just like surfing is. And when we can learn it, not only do we never diet again, but I think even more importantly, we put ourselves in the driver's seat. And when we take control of it, all that rumination, all that fear, all that anxiety, that energy has to go somewhere. So we talk about empowering, stepping into your power, lighting up your life. The time and energy we used to spend ruminating about food and wishing and hoping and praying, like that has to go somewhere. And you just watch these humans step into their brightest light because that energy is now has space to transfer somewhere else.
That is so fun. I love
Mm.
it. And I love that you have the worst sales pitch ever.
Right.
I have a feeling it's probably the best sales pitch ever because it's, like, here this is great. It'll work. Do this and then go enjoy learning other things.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, the foundation of the conversation, of these wonderful conversations I'm so fortunate to have, it's all about accountability,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So, how does accountability, seems obvious, but I don't think it is, towards our nutrition?
Yeah.
How do we apply that here? Give us some education,
Yes. Oh, there's so many directions we could take this. I'm going to split this into two parts.
please.
Number one, I want to talk big picture about accountability. I believe the holy grail of life is our habits, right? If you look at every area of your life, the things you love, the things that you want to improve on, whatever it is, we are our habits. So when we think about this, we're going to do a little mini neuroscience lesson. When we
Yay.
think about how habits are formed, the key to habits, if that's the holy grail, we take one step back. The key to forming habits is consistency. Because what happens in our brain is every single time we think a new thought or take a new action, a neural connection forms in our brain. Every time we repeat that thought or action, there's this stuff in our brain called myelin. It acts like cement and it coats that neural connection. So, with enough repetition, with enough consistency, you don't have a choice. You're going to form a habit whether you want to or not, right? It's the reason if I said, "How was brushing your teeth this morning?" You'd be like, "I have no memory of that," because you've done it. Hopefully, we've done it long enough that it's literally wired into our brain as a habit. So if habits are the holy grail, consistency is how we literally wire our brains for habits. The only thing we need to ask ourselves is, what do I need to stay consistent? If you can answer that question, you will change your life. You will literally rewire your brain for whatever habit you're trying to form. Now, to me, that answer, that first step, that only question we need to start with, how do I stay consistent, is accountability. And
Mhm.
what I find so fascinating is, as kids, we rely on accountability. No one came out of the womb saying, "May I brush my teeth, please?" Right? Someone had to poke us every day and say, "Brush your teeth, brush your teeth." And we didn't want to, and we complained until we did it long enough that we don't think about it. But somewhere along the lines as adults, we've decided that accountability is weakness, that having whether it's a coach or a check-in buddy or a calendar that we check off, what I always hear is I shouldn't need those things. I call it shoulding on ourselves. SHOULDING. I shouldn't need that. I should just do it. And my answer is, who decide, like, at what age did we flick that switch and say, I shouldn't need accountability? At the end of the day, to me, what the only question we need to answer is, what do I personally need to stay accountable so that I will stay consistent, so that I will form habits? Now, how do we stay accountable, right? There's no blanket answer. For some people, it's a coach, having a coach who's checking in on you, investing in yourself, knowing you've taken a leap and felt a sting. Like if I spend a decent amount of money on something, come hell or high water, I'm going to stick with it because I want my money's worth, right? For some people, it's a calendar that they check off every day. For some people, it's a best friend they check in with any day. But if we're going to talk about accountability from a big picture, I care less about how people do it. I care more about the fact that they understand that is the only question we need to answer if we want to wire our brain for new habits. Now, to take it one step further on your
Please.
question of nutrition, the biggest thing I see with nutrition, and we'll go down a rabbit hole in a little bit, I'm sure, is that the biggest hindering block for most people is they try to do a major life overhaul. They try to say, I'm going to go 0 to 100. I'm going to go from eating fast food to eating clean to never doing a workout to 6 days a week. And then they try to force with willpower. Again, here comes that word should. I should do this. I should be more motivated. I should have more willpower. And the reality is, when we try to do a major life overhaul, we're literally fighting against our human nature. So when we talk about accountability from a health and fitness perspective, it sounds like some of the craziest advice you'll hear from a coach, but my best advice to people is do the bare minimum. Get the snowball going down the hill. Humans are pleasure-seeking creatures, and when we take a small step, we are going to organically say, holy cow, I feel incredible. What else can I do? And holding ourselves accountable becomes infinitely easier than these unrealistic fighting human nature major life overhauls.
Ooh, you know what? I'm going to reverse engineer this. I love that we're pleasure seekers,
Mm,
do a little bit, feel
yes.
good, want to do a little more.
100%. 100%. In this topic of health and fitness, the number one stumbling block that people experience is because we're trying to push a boulder up a hill. We're trying to do major life overhauls. We're trying to cut out food groups. We're trying to cut carbs. We're trying to say this is a good food. This is a bad food. We're trying to go 0 to 100. And when you understand human nature, you understand you're literally fighting against it when you do all of those things. The key is to give yourself the power of choice, to take baby steps, to get that snowball going down a hill so you flow with your nature instead of fighting against it.
I love that. And the flow with your nature. I love that so much. I am 100% guilty of the all or nothing. I'm embarrassed to tell you, I'm 110 years old and I would exercise 2 hours every day. It was just part of my life.
Mm,
And it wasn't.
yeah.
So then I would think, oh, well, I don't have time to exercise today because I don't have 2 hours.
That's a big commitment to do every single day. So of course it's
That's
going to be more.
right. And
Yeah.
so fortunately, you know, I'm a fairly lucky person. Anyway, I do love to walk and I love yoga. So I just would do a little bit of those things. And then of course it turned into more and it's part of my life. But I'm gonna now go. So we're doing a little of this. The word should, by the way, I wish it didn't exist.
Yeah.
This should thing, I couldn't. What do we do to ourselves? We should ourselves to death.
Shooting on ourselves. SHOULDING.
I'm
It's a
going to
lot of
use
shooting on
that.
ourselves. Yep.
I'm going to use that. Thank you. And backing up to the habits,
Mhm.
we're all sitting, you and I are sitting here in the center of every decision we've ever made, every habit we've decided to allow in our lives. And that's why we're here. And if we really want something different, we have to figure out a way to do something different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I bet you 98% of the people I speak to are not thrilled about their nutrition.
Mm,
They're not proud of themselves. They do not feel an integrity with themselves. They do not think that what they put in their mouth. I have to say, I'm a sugar, chocolate, do I dare say addict, but I will
mm,
say,
mm.
and it's very hard for me to have a little bit and
Yeah.
not have a lot. So
Yeah.
that's a whole we can work together on. But this is true. It's about the habits and we have to be accountable. one of the things that you shared that I think is so important is what that second question, what do I need? What's the tool that I need to be accountable to this future self, this present self, this empowered self? What do I need to help me stay accountable?
Yeah.
And everybody needs something different.
Yeah.
You know, I love you said the calendar, the coach, the best friend, all of your references, your precious puppy dog, Charlie, maybe somebody needs a pet to be accountable, to take a walk every day. Um, I think that's the trouble. I think those things combined, you said I'm going to change my entire life. I'm going to go from 0 to 100, as you said. And I am going to do it. And I'm going to use a coach. I'm going to use a calendar. I'm going to use a check-in page. I'm going to use my best friend. And it's so much, nothing happens.
Exactly. Exactly.
What is your advice to somebody? It's like, okay, I've tried. I know it's my habits. I know it's this. I've tried this. I've tried this. What do you say to someone who's tried and tried and tried and tried? They feel like they've done what you've instructed.
Mm.
However, they have not yet.
Yeah.
It hasn't
Yes.
worked.
Exactly. And this is, I mean, I will say 98% of people that we work with come to me with this feeling of, I have been doing this my entire life, right? We kind of have two schools of people. One are, I have been doing this my entire life and nothing's working. And then there's the, I've never had to think about this before. And now my body's changed and nothing's working, right? It's always this theme of nothing is working. And what do we do? So I think there's two parts to this conversation. One is a little bit more logistical when it comes to the skill of nutrition, and one is a little bit bigger picture on what we've been talking about with the snowball going down the hill. When someone comes to me and they say, listen, I have tried 150 diets and nothing works for me. I can't stick with it. I lack willpower, whatever their down the rabbit hole thoughts and beliefs are. The number
Yes.
one thing that is most important for me to get them to understand first is we need to wipe the slate clean. I am a huge believer in radical personal responsibility. And when we really dissect restrictive diets, whether you're talking about point systems, shake systems, frozen meals, cutting out carbs, you have not tried 150 diets. You have tried 150 versions of one restrictive diet. Any diet that tells you this is a good food, this is a bad food, this is an allowed food, this is not allowed food, is literally fighting against our human nature. There's a term in psychology called reactance. That's simply my best example for reactance. If I tell you, Carol, think about anything in the world you want, anything you want, but do not think about a giant blue elephant right now.
Yeah.
Where does that's it. That's all we want to think about. Like this stupid
Give me that
elephant is
blue
the only thing I
elephant.
can obsess about. So when we go on these diets and we put on our horse blinders and say, I can't, I can't, I can't, willpower is a limited resource. Science has proven that you might have more willpower than I do, but it's not going to be sustainable long term. So when we can wipe that slate clean and say, okay, today is a new day. I have not tried 150 diets. I've tried 150 versions of one restrictive diet. And the way that I am going to finally do this to get it to last is by learning nutrition as a skill where I'm not labeling foods as good, bad, allowed, and not allowed is an absolute game changer. Now, with that, this is what goes into our do the bare minimum exercise. What I will never suggest someone does is when people come to me, I'll give you a example in real time. When someone comes to me, the first thing I do is I get an idea of how they tend to eat right now in their life. We call that point A, their averages. This is what your body's used to, more or less. It's a bird's eye view.
Mhm.
From there, we're going to set some goals. What does your body actually need to be fueled properly? What I am never going to do is have someone jump from A to C because our bodies and our minds hate massive change. We have brains that are designed for safety. So when we try to do major life overhauls, we're literally fighting against ourselves. And those wired in safety habits, they are always going to be the winner. They've been around for decades, not the 1 week we've been working together so far. So what we do is we're going to start your body closer to what it's used to. We want it to feel comfortable. We want it to feel safe. And over the course of our weeks together, we're going to slowly, slowly, slowly baby step it toward those goals. And what happens, to get back to the conversation about accountability, is staying accountable is a completely different experience. It's a difference between saying, let's go take a leisurely walk around the block versus let's go climb Machu Picchu. Like we are not
Right.
in this, it's not even apples to oranges. It is a different universe, because the reason we don't stay accountable is not because we suck at accountability. It's not because we lack willpower. It's that we are literally fighting against our human nature. So to me, it comes down to, first and foremost, learning how to do this correctly as a skill. No good foods, bad foods, allowed food, not allowed foods. And number two, doing it in baby steps, where staying accountable means I'm going to try to do my best to stay pretty close to where I was today, but with one little step in the right direction. And when I talk about that snowball down a hill, I mean, you look back 3 months from now and you're like, who am I? Who am I? I'm this person that completely changed my life. But it was so easy because I did it organically. I flowed with my nature.
Oh my gosh, doing it easy.
And
Oh
that sound nice, especially with nutrition.
my God. Okay, well, sign us all up. Now,
Yeah.
our time is so limited, and you know how we love visiting together. I could
Oh,
go
we could
on,
be here for 2 hours.
but please, please, I want to wrap this up because you've been so generous with wanting to share something with the audience. I know all the links and all the things are available, but tell the audience a little bit about what you want to leave them with and what you want to share with them, because this is just fabulous.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the biggest thing that I can offer, I think we're including 3 links. The big one is I have a 90-minute training called How to Fire Up Your Metabolism. I will say it's geared toward women. Everything I teach in there is for men as well. This
Okay.
is a deep dive. Like, grab a notepad, grab a pen. This is not some like fluffy little thing. Like, we are going to deep dive into everything that I've been talking about today. It's normally a $297 workshop, and we're giving everyone free access to that.
Wow.
Um,
Thank you.
that's the big shebang. Then there's a couple guides. There's a guide called 5 Steps to Firing Up Your Metabolism. It's kind of the intro to that workshop. And finally, I believe the other one was 8 ways to add protein to meals you're already eating. It's just a fun little guide. Most of us are not getting enough protein. So rather than drinking protein powders till we want to puke, here's some ways to actually add it to food that makes it simple and easy. But that training is where I suggest everyone starts. It is a whole different way of thinking about fitness, thinking about nutrition in that way that flows with human nature that we've been talking about.
This is so exciting. And thank you. Thank you. I know if the audience could speak up here, thank you from everyone. And I cannot wait. And I cannot wait at some point to get a little bit of that jazz going here and
Yes.
do that for us. Thank you for your time, really and truly. And also, y'all, I want to make sure Becoming MindStrong, she's out there. She's got this fabulous book. Go get it. Let y'all get to know, Rachel a little bit better. It's such a pleasure getting to know you. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Oh, I love every second of it.